At the rear of your vehicle by your ladder and by your pneumatic mast and by your lovely AC. So with the ladder itself, pretty straightforward. If you notice over time, like these little plastic bump stops may wear out or something as you use it more often, you can actually adjust them. You can see they're adjusted all the way out. But if you want it to be in a little bit more, you can crank them down in a little bit. Now this little guy is actually adjustable as well. It's just tightened on with this bracket. So if you guys add new stops or someone adjust it, you can actually adjust this little piece out further as well. It is meant to hook on the side here. That's why it has a little polypropylene. It's not meant to go up here. So don't try to hook it over this. You're going to cause damage to it. Pretty straightforward as well. That same quickie lube that was for the steps, it's great for these ladders as well. You can spray down all the little hinge points. Up at the top, here at the bottom, it's kind of like a white lithium grease, a little bit like that, not as thick. It goes on liquidy and then thickens up a little bit, so just wipe off all the excess, otherwise you're gonna have a ton of dirt on this thing that you don't need on it. The mast itself, to repeat kind of what we've gone over in the past as well. So from that little air compressor, it goes straight to this little valve. As long as you have the mast air compressor on, it should automatically, when you push up, it should automatically go up. Good example of what I was going to show you. If you heard some air just came out, I have a little gold valve here and it's aimed, let's go with the actual, parallel with the actual side and back of the vehicle. It's open. The reason we have it open right now, when you're driving down the road, we discussed this yesterday, it expands the air inside, the sun beating down on a black mast, it expands the air inside, and your mast will actually start to hop, and you can hear it just ticking sometimes when you're driving or when you're bouncing, or even in the airplane, you might notice it, you'll hear it bouncing. If you just open that little valve up, it lets all the pressure out, lets a lot of the moisture that can be built up. If you have this thing up in the rain, high humidity climates, it'll build up inside this mast from the compressed air, and you can just open this up, it'll bleed everything out. That's exactly what this little hose here is for, but it's smaller, it's a lot slower. If you just open that, it blows all the stuff that can be setting down on the bottom out. So close that back up, push and hold the up button. Once it needs air, the air compressor kicks on like it just did. As we discussed yesterday as well, this mast does need lubricated about once a month. There will be a little blue bottle of lubricant. It comes in a little, almost like a glue bottle you'd use for woodworking. Take the little black cap off, or red cap off. It's got a little tiny hole on it, and you're going to squeeze it into the weep holes on the mast itself. Now that little hole instruction sheet comes with a nice little pamphlet that tells you how to do it, how often. It's once a month. So as we discussed, how do you get the upper rings? Just for the camera's sake, you can hold down on the ring right below the top ring. It'll put the first section up first. So have someone just sit on the roof and hold that ring really tight. Shove the first section up, add the lubricant, add and press it again, hold the next ring, and it'll keep just going up. So you do it until it's all the way up. Just follow the instructions. It is a Wilbert mast, so you can look them up online. You can look them up on their website. Very well-known company. Now I want to point out this lovely little label right there that says electrocution hazard. There are whole classes and things that that other companies, electrical companies, construction companies, they send their employees to just to operate a mast, right? And you'd be like, why? Well, when you put that up into a power line, I don't care how big your ground is, I don't know how well that's going to handle all the voltage you get from high voltage power lines. So just make sure that you watch what you're putting it up into. As you can see, I stopped because we're inside. Don't just keep going up. It's going to keep trying to go. You eventually blow the seals out. The compressor's not going to handle it very well. So just be aware of that. To put it back down, you can just use the little red lever. I find it easiest. Like I said, it does 3 things in one. Cleans it out, makes sure the air doesn't expand, and lowers it. Just open that up all the way. It is a slow release. I can stop it with my finger if I had to. And it will slowly bring the mast down. So it's not just going to drop. Now if you notice, there is a little pin at the top. If you do want to turn or remove your bracket or change it out, all you have to undo is the wiring at the top, all that. Pull that pin, that whole little piece just comes off. You can remake that little base plate that goes on there. We can send you a new one if you have new equipment in the future. Just let us know. They're easy to exchange, so it's a nice little function. Just pull the pin, pull it out. Just be aware, there's one hole, right? So you have to line it back up when you put the pin through. Don't put it on backwards, anything crazy like that. Otherwise, that will hit the ladder, right? Common sense. So if it's not in there, it's just going to spin and do weird things. Pretty straightforward as well. There is a whole nother manual for the actual rear AC as well. It's pretty straightforward as well though. It's just kind of like any other AC. You can see it says do not use coil cleaning agents on condenser coils, will cause damage. They don't like spraying it down with any of that acid wash, any of that kind of stuff. Just follow what the owner's manual says. Now there is a filter. If you were inside, you could see in the rear wall that giant filter. To access the filter, it's actually here on the exterior. So you take out these 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 10, quarter 20 bolts. Just take those out. The filter's right in there. Slides right out. You can see it's got access to the refrigeration, the electrical, and the heater. So that's how you clean everything. You just pull these little covers off, clean inside there, put it back on. Now the filter, I'm not sure what size it is, but it's going to be just like any other filter. You can measure it. You can order them from the company. Pretty straightforward as well. This compartment's very important. This is your shore cord compartment. Now, right now we're plugged in with this giant 100 amp shore cord cable, so it's the giant shore cord plugged in right now. You do need to, once a month, you should unplug your shore cord from the vehicle, from the power source, turn the power off to the outlet or whatever you're plugging into, and you should put that dielectric grease that I mentioned earlier, put that in what you're plugging it into, put it on the prongs on the other end, or the plug on the other end, put it in this end of the shore cord and on the prongs on the vehicle. If you do that, it's going to extend the life of your shore cord tenfold. Now, because this has a little cap on it and it's open to the elements, if you close that thing just up and leave it shut for an extended amount of time, it's going to contain that moisture inside there. So putting that dielectric grease on, spraying it with WD-40 to wipe it off or clean it off once a month, right? It'll keep those from corroding in these extreme elements that you guys might encounter. You notice we do have it passed through the deck plate. Now the easiest thing to do, guys, common sense, right? Pull this little 3-foot section through. Don't try to pull 100 foot of 100 amp shore cord through the little hole. It just doesn't make sense, right? Now that is a twist lock connector, so you got to get it fully in, and this outer ring actually twists the lock in place, right? So you got to make sure that these little guys here, you can see I just got them out of the way. These little tabs on the backside have to be out of the way, so when you pull this out, it pulls out. When you put it in, if they're in the way, it's not going to seat down properly like it's supposed to. Now I know it's enclosed and these are typically for like waterproof conditions and that sort of thing, but we do expect you to use the ring no matter where you park. A, because someone could walk by and almost unplug it, but B, just because of the little variances, little vibrations, little things you get as you work inside the vehicle, it'll actually rock this little guy out of its place and you're going to start getting arc problems. So just make sure you use the little ring. Now, they're expensive, right? These little ends, they're something stupid, like 800 bucks a piece. If you drop it, the only cheap part of it, and I'm going to use the word cheap, is that ring. So if you drop it, the rest of it looks great, but you broke the ring off and now it doesn't tighten down. You have to order a new ring. I don't know what that costs, or you have to order a new end. Expensive. Your other outlets, your 3-phase outlets, you can see right here we have labeled 30 amp 3-phase 120 UPS outlet, so it's coming from the UPS inside, and the other one is labeled non-UPS outlet. So to turn those on, remember they're on the breaker panel. The main breaker said from UPS exterior trailer, so that's exactly what they are. Now this one does say no storage as well. There's not too much going on in here. If you had to put something in here, you technically could. Just once again, make sure it's secured in place so it's not beating up your ends over here and damaging any of the equipment inside of the shore cord compartment. Up on the top, you guys are already well aware of it, but I might as well point it out for future reference, and possibly soon on this one. It will probably be moved more over here to the side or more into an easily accessible location, but it is your grounding point for the vehicle. So you should hook right up to that, and we're going to verify, of course, that that goes from a frame mount to the generator, etc. So that's exactly what that is. It never hurts to put protective coating on those as well, just because you're going to be using them. You put them a little bit of dielectric grease, unscrewing them and screwing them in every time. It'll save the threads on that little stud itself. So just be aware of that as well. Watch your hand. Yes, to say, watch your hand. I'd love to just crush it, right? All right. In Inside here, you are going to see your amazing, enormous generator. Pretty straightforward. All your model information is over here to the side. So I would highly recommend that while it still looks as good as it does, take your camera out and get a nice couple pictures of that label. Make sure it's nice and clear. It does have your engine type, your engine model, your serial number for the generator, for the engine itself. It does say that it is a 45